The Field, where you can listen to the best NFL and charity-based podcasts out there on the RTF Sports Network. You can follow them on Facebook or go to rtfsportsnetwork.com and check out the show Thursdays from 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention?
Are you ready? I said, are you ready?
You're rocking with the heavyweight champs of sports talk.
Don't act like you're not impressed.
Brandon Way and Brandon Rudolph.
Stop what you're doing and listen.
Tune in to Opinionated Facts, Tuesdays at 6 p.m. on the RTF Sports Network. And we're back again every Sunday at 12 noon on Facebook Live.
Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Only on the Opinionated Facts Facebook page, presented by TCP Network.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to RTFSportsNetwork.com here on the 8 o'clock hour. Coming at you right now, you have Cole Johnson and On the Daily. Enjoy.
The Last Dance reminds us of lasting impressions. Cole Sports presents On the Daily.
Welcome to Cole Sports. You have entered the zone called sports on another level. And now, here's your host, Cole Johnson.
Thank you so much, Spike. As always, I love you to pieces. Cole Johnson here. Cole Sports presents On the Daily is on tap, and we're going to get right down to it. We're going to bypass. Normally on Mondays, we have Rapid Fire. It's going to return soon. But we have to come up with something else. Topic of the day, please. So, of course, the big-time news, NBA-wise, is sort of twofold. This Saturday should have started, this past Saturday, should have started the 2020 or 2020 playoff season. We should have already seen all the first round games played, all 8 of them played, all of game 1 of the first round played by now. Normally you have 4 on Saturday and 4 on Sunday. You didn't see that. Why? Well, of course, because of COVID-19. So in an effort to, well, I guess at least maybe circumvent that, ESPN, which I believe they did do this, partnered with the NBA, and they decided, well, let's air this documentary that we've had and we've hyped for over a year now about the 1998 Bulls. You know, we were going to air it after the NBA playoffs, so it was going to be probably in the second half of June, and it was going to last all the way until Labor Day. Why don't we bump that up and actually condense it as well? Instead of having it 1 hour episodes every Sunday for 10 weeks, why don't we have 2 episodes every week for the next 5? It would still give people somewhat of a playoff fervor and taste and fever. So all of that is good. And the series thus far is good. That's not the issue I have, and that's not the problem. The problem I'm having is I'm sensing that since we're done with the playoffs, we do have the last hurrah called The Last Dance, the remembrance of the last great dynasty. Yes, I know, Warriors fan, I'm sorry. It is not as glorious. Your run is not as glorious as the Bulls' run. 6 championships in 8 years. And there was another dynasty after it in the 2000s Lakers. But it wasn't quite as glorious as the Bulls, and neither has your run been. No slight, that's just truth and fact. So here we are, we have this snapshot of the last year of the last dynasty we have seen that doesn't include the New England Patriots, but the last dynasty of teams that actually has won at least 3 championships in such a close cluster because they did it twice. To see that ending It's going to be interesting, and it was interesting in the I guess you could say the pregame, the prelude to it all. And we all heard the stories, right? So all of that was great, but I almost get the feeling that this was supposed to be a bit of a smokescreen. Well, why do I say that? Well, news came out this past weekend that the NBA, as quiet as it's kept, is going to start withholding a quarter of the players' salaries beginning May 15th. Now, the caveat is that is if a permanent cancellation of the 2019-20 season or playoff games due to the pandemic happens. Well, don't take my word for it. That is what the NBA said. And they released a statement saying that. Quote, in the event of a permanent cancellation of the 2019/20 regular season or playoff games due to the COVID-19 pandemic, close quote, they will withhold 25% of all players' salaries. Now, the decision was made in conjunction with the Players Association, so this wasn't a unilateral decision with the owners. Governors. You're not the 50 who run the states, United States. Owners own the fact that you own the team. I digress. Rant over. It's basically meant to provide players with a more gradual salary reduction schedule. Like a partial reduction, 25% will begin with the players' twice a month payment due on that date. Now, of course, as we know, the NBA suspended all of their season thus far 5 weeks ago. And people know the date, March 11th, because that was the night that many people say that Rudy Gobert, the center of the Jazz, basically ended the NBA season. But you might as well say he ended all sports altogether because, well, once he became the, I hate to say this, once he became the poster child for the coronavirus pandemic in the athletic realm, the leagues closed down shop fast. And rightfully so, they should, because this is a health issue. And as we know, many players have tested positive for the coronavirus pandemic, and not just in basketball. And not just players, because, well, the owner, governor of the Knicks, James Dolan, also tested positive for the coronavirus pandemic. And people have slick tongues, because I've heard a lot of slander thrown in his direction because he has, well, made a mess of things with Square Garden and all matters Madison Square Garden, which includes the Knicks. Some actually saying that he should have AIDS. Again, rant. Idiots. So, like I said, the decision that the NBA made to just simply say, well, we're going to suspend the season, it basically was a domino effect that started with them. Because the NCAA canceled their March Madness tournament, which outside of the bowl season in early January, you could probably say the last 2 weeks of December too, but definitely the bowl season early January. The entity probably earns the most money around then. So they shut off their tournament, both the men's and women's. Of course, the NHL shut off their season. College spring sports went, and then Major League Baseball decided to push back their season. Same thing with the golf tournaments. And the NFL, even though they went on as business as usual with their free agency season, which normally takes place in the middle of March, they had to tweak their upcoming draft, which, of course, that's going to take place Thursday. It was supposed to be this wonderful Ocean's 11 feel out in Las Vegas, where the draft picks and draft choices would be brought from where they were standing or sitting via boat because there would be a moat basically in between the stage where Roger Goodell, the commissioner of the NFL, was going to announce the draft picks and where the draftees would be sitting. Well, that picturesque, beautiful setting now will exist somewhere else. I'll talk about that later in this episode. But, at first when I looked at this story, I thought, well, this is not the greatest thing to hear. Players are going to be, players are not going to have as much money at their disposal. But then again, if it's in partnership with the players, which this is, this more or less basically strikes me as a withholding rather than a furlough. And the furlough is basically saying, we have to cut costs so hard that you all can't work a certain time period. That's currently happening with me. So, this isn't a furlough. This is basically what can you say? Like a savings plan, I guess. I think that's the best way you could put it. But once again, this is why I say the NBA probably has the most, I'm trying to find the right word. They probably have the most envied relationship between governorship, ownership, and players that any of the major sports leagues would like to have. It's the best one. It's the most cohesive relationship between union and ownership. Makes it baseball, well, the players basically rule, I hate to say it this way, they basically rule the league.